Hi there. So today we are talking about a very commonly asked question when it comes to people who are bootstrapping a SaaS or starting a SaaS is how much does it actually cost to build a SaaS? So this video is intended for indie hackers or people who are building a tech business but bootstrapping it. Of course, if you have raised funds, then the route is different. But for people who are bootstrapping it, it is for especially for non-tech people, it is a very frequently asked question that how much does it actually cost to make or build a SaaS or say a website or an app. Now, this particular question is always answered in a complicated way, but the fact is that uh, when we talk about MVP, when we talk about a product that just specifically solves the problem that you are trying to solve, it actually costs almost every time nothing, right? It can obviously range from when it comes to MVP, when you have a few customers, then obviously you bear some cost, but that also is not uh, the amount that I have seen a lot of non-tech founders pay, which always some way crosses $20,000. So let me just tell you. So I also run this blog called SaaSstartups.org where I write about these things, these frequently asked questions, because people ask about them from me very often. So this is also a blog I wrote down, and we will also we will put this in the context and try to understand the answer to the question that how much exactly you should pay. So that's what we are going to discuss in the video. So to start with, we really need to understand that what exactly you know an MVP is, right? So what happens is you sometimes get an idea. Now, one thing that people often make mistake is that their idea matters. It does not, right? First, maybe come stumble upon an idea, and then you figure out what problem does it solve, right? Problems are what matters, and then you go on to figuring out if this is a real problem or not. So all this happens before you start building the MVP. So how do you exactly uh, reach to an MVP? Is you first stumble upon the idea, then you figure out the problem, and then you talk to relevant people who have this problem, and you do something with them called as the mom test. Mom Test is a very famous book by Rob, and it is very on point. It also helps you understand a very most very common mistakes that especially tech founders do when they are building on the idea. Because as techs, we always want to just build this thing and just let it do all and then sort of validate the idea. So what you do is you find the problem, you talk to people who really have this problem, and then you try to figure out how big of a problem is this for them, or are they really desperate to get it solved. And if they are, you ask them for money. A lot of times pre-sales happens. It's one of the best way to validate an idea. Ask them for money and tell them, if I don't bring you the product in next 30 days, I'll return back the money. uh, so that's what if you'll see, I've written down here, right? You have identified the problem, and you have talked to real customers. You at least have someone who is ready to pay, right? In fact, you should already take the money if you can. And then you reach to an idea. Once you have figured out what problem my user is having, you reach to an idea of what an MVP would be, right? So let's divide it into two parts: B2C SaaS or B2B SaaS, right? So for B2C SaaS, most of the problems can be solved through a WhatsApp group, right? A lot of people put up social media. A lot of people talk about, setting up e-commerce stores. A lot of people, different other things. But to its core, no matter what problem you're trying to solve, if it's a B2C problem, you can always create a WhatsApp group version of it, except a few things, except one or two problems, right? uh, I always assume that if it's an automation, a tech based automation, it's mostly is going to fall under the B2B category, right? Again, the deep tech products, say chat gpt, it cannot be done on a WhatsApp group. But general understanding on B2C SaaS, if I pick up 10 SaaS, almost 9 of them, most of the cases, can be done through a WhatsApp group. Say you have an idea of delivering groceries, you can do it through a WhatsApp group. You have an idea of uh, I don't know, setting up meetings, or scheduling meetings, you can do it through a WhatsApp group. uh, yeah, the automation might be the key to it, but why not to do it manually, right? If you can have 10 customers who are regularly paying you, to do it even manually, handling 10 customers manually is not a big job, it's not a problematic thing. Once you have 10 customers regularly, you can obviously invest in building the product. But just think about it, how much money you're saving right now. If you don't build a WhatsApp group, or you don't do it this way, you first build an app, which takes quite some time, right? Then you find customers, and you may or may not get customers. Let's say you get there is a fair chance you don't get any customers. Then you have already invested, say, tens of thousands of rupees, sorry, tens and thousands of dollars, and there's no sense to it. You have just thrown away that money. On the other hand, if people are really desperate to get that problem solved, a WhatsApp group, they really don't care if it's an app or they're signing up or not. They just want the job to be done, right? So that's why WhatsApp groups are crazy good when it comes to solving a B2C problem. And yes, it works. I, a lot of people I've worked with have started with a WhatsApp or a Telegram group. It's not specifically WhatsApp. You get the point, right? Talking about B2B solutions, if you look deep into most of the B2B solutions, they are somewhere around automating stuff, right? They're simplifying stuff, they're automating stuff. And most of these applications are CRUD operations, right? So you take some data from the user and then you show them the data back, right? And in between, you do some operations, right? You do some mathematical calculations, something which we called as business operations or business logic, right? And this kind of product hardly uh, matter. So this kind of product is not the most complicated thing to build right now. AI has been taking over a lot of projects, but also even integrating some APIs from these models, these providers, is fairly easy. It's not a complicated thing to build. And that is why I put it that if you have this simple application, say a user interacts, some automation happens, and data gets stored, and then that data is retrieved and showed to user. That's how your app looks like. And it's very important, even if you are a non-tech, you need to understand how exactly your app looks like, what it does in the backend, right? And that's it. If this is what your product is, it can be made in as less as $5,000 in 3 months of time, right? And I see it from more than 5 years working in and building SaaS for myself and for people, right? And a few things, and it can also cross $5,000, but should not exceed $20,000. That's, crossing $20,000 for a simple CRID application is ridiculously high, right? No matter where you are hiring your tech from, it's ridiculously high, right? For simple applications, there's so there's no way to just uh, you can't build a simple CRUD application with too much of quality, right? So there's not a quality difference if you hire a very expensive tech or a very or a decent tech, right? Also, when it comes to products like these, you don't even want to care about the quality. You just want the problem to be solved so that you can, as fast as possible, give it to users and get them paying you, right? A few things that you should keep in mind is, so this is also a very common question: how do I hire tech? So you don't need much things. You just need someone with a portfolio, right? Someone who can show you things they have built, and just sit with them and talk about it, right? What they have built. So how do you vet a tech freelancer? And that's what I suggest: hire a freelancer, not an agency, but a freelancer. A freelancer can give you much more personalized experience than an agency, because they handle a lot of projects. And until unless you are hiring a very expensive agency, they most of the times over promise and under deliver. That's not what you want. So how do you vet it? You just review their previous work. Either ask a tech friend of yours to just uh, tell his or her opinions on the work, right? And sit with them and talk about it, right? Ask questions as anyone would, right? You don't need to know the tech of it. The person you're hiring should know the tech of it. So try to sit on a call with them, right, and try to ask questions to understand the tech of it. If you are able to understand what they have built, right, from them, then you know it's a good it's a good connect, right? It's compatible, because you can now ask questions about your product when they're building it, and you will know what's happening, right? You wouldn't want to be in a black box with the tech, right? You would want to know what your code represents, what has been done, what is to be done, and uh, how it's going to be done. Some high level idea of it, right? Also, you can share their particular portfolio on public forums like Reddit, if you don't have anyone who knows tech, and they can tell you how good of a tech they are. And it's the most simple way to just go there and do it, right? Send it to share it on say the subreddit of devs, and they will tell you how good the person is, right? Things that you don't need, and people often get way more entangled in it, right? Okay, you don't need a designer, you don't need a very beautiful perfect website for the first version for the MVP. Not at all, right? It costs a lot of money to design a website. If it's not costing you enough money, then you haven't hired a very good designer. And you don't need multiple developers, never, for basic CRUD applications, until or unless you want to build a custom AI model or some complicated mathematical problems. Is that what you want to solve? Any other application than that, you don't need anything more than one engineer, right? Or maybe a few of junior engineers, but that's it, right? And you don't need maintenance, right? If your product works after, they've built it in 3 months, it works as you expect it, they have given you maintenance of 15 days, as in if someone uses it and some bugs come, they're going to fix it. That's it. You don't need anything else after that. It's going to work, right? You don't need a perfect product. Just remember this. Talking about multiple developers, just remember this, that adding more text does not mean faster development. It never is directly proportional. In fact, and this would might come as surprise to you, but if you add more developers, it might take more time to build the product. It most probably would, because managing this much amount of people, dividing work like that, a single developer working in their own head is way 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 better, right? So bottom line is that it's going to cost you about should cost you less than $20,000, depending where you are hiring from, what kind of product you have, and everything, right? Ask them to work full time. If they don't, even just fixed an amount of hours, and tell them to be available there, and pay them well, right? Make sure that they get what they deserve. Otherwise, after a few months, the excitement of the project lowers down, and people might start delaying work, right? So paying right is important. Communication is very important. uh, Also, talk to them about why you want to solve this problem, and see if they are interested in solving the problem as well. All these things are very important, right? Be constant with the feedback and talk to them. So that's what you shouldn't have to invest a lot of money. And this is how much it costs. I've given you a number, and I've given you the details, the nitty and gritties of it, and that's how much it costs to build a SaaS in 2024. Thank you so much for watching.